Today's episode of the Goldcast is sponsored by Histories and Injuries. On one end, Raymond, we got the Giants making absolute history on Tuesday. And then today, by Thursday, we have the 49ers just generating injuries. And it seems to be coming mostly from our wide receivers. So we're going to be talking about all that after the intro. But first, of course, Raymond, as always, why don't you let them know where can they find us?
You can always find us on Facebook.com/TheGoldcast, and you can also follow us on Twitter at @the_Goldcast, and be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, all under the same moniker of The Goldcast across all platforms. So even if the platform that you listen to us on is not mentioned, be sure it is there if you don't use any of those platforms. But if you want to engage in conversation, we always encourage YouTube as being the best one, or you can just reach out to us directly on our social media handles. But like, subscribe, and comment on that YouTube for sure, because this video is exclusive to YouTube, and we certainly want to get your take on everything that is Bay Area sports today.
Yeah, actually, if you find this Goldcast video on another platform, it will actually blow up your computer. The podcast audio version, you can find that many places. But if you see this video on any other platform, your computer will blow up. It's just the security
Just like
measure.
the Mission Impossible thing, the cassette explodes.
That's exactly what I was referencing. Now, Raymond, if they want to get a hold of you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ray Solis and on Instagram at Ray Solis1. Those handles are written right at the bottom there, so be sure to check that out to reach out to me direct.
And you can find me at I am Rudy 3rd. I am Rudy 3RD. All right, here we go. History and injuries. Another week in Bay Area sports. Your professor of fanalism, he's in the building. The greatest fanalist in the game, he's in the building too. Class is in session. Let's go.
This is
the Goldcast.
Boom! Welcome to another edition of the Goldcast. We are the voice of the Bay. I'm your host, Rudy Solis III, and with me is my brother, my co-host,
Raymond Solis first, baby.
Boom! Boom, 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 boom. Sometimes I just want to come in hot, Ray. I just want to come in hot because it's coming swinging. Not
With
playing
the
any game.
booms.
Hella booms. How many booms we can get? Can we get more booms? Throw me some more booms. Boom, boom, boom. I knocked my head.
Well, the Giants certainly had plenty of boom this week.
I mean, I almost wanted to throw 23 booms just for them. Straight up. Okay, so let's talk about this. This is the first game in MLB history where 3 different players on the same team have had 6 RBIs. Since the RBIs was recorded as a stat, this is the first time.
That's 1920 for those that are unaware.
That is 100 years of baseball.
Yeah,
162 games.
So it's been an entire generation.
It's been several generations.
What's it called? What do you call 100 years?
A century? It's been an entire century.
It's a century, yeah.
It's been an entire century that this stat has been recorded as a stat. And here are the guys. So we had Dickerson. He finished 5 for 6 with 3 home runs. Crawford, 3 for 6. He had 6 RBIs. I'm sorry. Let's go back to the beginning. Okay. Dickerson finished 5 for 6 with 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, 5 runs, and a walk. Because, I mean, why not? Crawford, 3 for 6 with 6 RBIs and 3 runs. And then our second baseman, Solano, 4 for 6 with 6 RBIs and 2 runs.
It's 18 between the 3 of them, and and they still scored 23 runs. So there was other contributors there, but those were the three horsemen on that night.
Well, I'll tell you a couple things, right? First of all, the Waterboy got a hit. I got a hit. I'm pretty sure you got a hit. I think everybody got a hit.
Yeah, I mean, it feels good to contribute for a change.
Here's some of the tweets that came out of this thing. My favorite one, the Colorado Rockies tweet. We typically have a positive and encouraging words when tweeting the final score after losses, or some kind of clever approach. Not tonight. We lost 23-5. It sucked. Good night. That's literally what they posted on the team website. This is, on the team's Twitter account.
I think that falls under clever approach in my book.
Yeah. Fox Sports MLB. This is what they tweeted. Okay, so ... Takes deep breath. The San Francisco Giants have scored 23 runs tonight. They have 26 hits. They've only allowed 2 hits. They've scored in every inning so far. 5 players have at least 3 hits. Alex Dickerson is 4 for 5 with 3 home runs and 6 RBIs. And the game still isn't over.
Oh my God.
I want to point out a couple other things. I'm gonna bring this up.
The Giants channeled their inner 49ers.
They really did.
With the score.
That was legit a football
23-5.
score. So check this out. The Giants now lead the MLB with 335 hits on the season. And their 195 runs scored trail only the San Diego Padres, who have 211, and the Los Angeles Dodgers, who have 210.
Well, it's like we've said on this show and also in text with our other host that offense isn't the issue with the Giants. It's pitching. Pitching's what gets them into trouble because, once you get into the tournament, as the teams will later this season, the top offenses are going to take a dip like they do every single year with some exceptions. It's, it goes both ways, but baseball is a defensive sport. It is dominated by a defensive effort. That is a very minimal offensive effort. You only need a little bit of offense. A little bit of offense goes a long way in baseball because the rest is taken care of by your defense. And in late baseball, October baseball is typically what it is, but I think it'll still end up in October this year, I believe, right? With the way it's been cut. It's cut short, but
yeah, I guess sure. Yeah, because we only have one more month. One more month.
Yeah,
of MLB.
So it's still going to end up in October this year. But I mean, so a team like the Giants, they need pitching to get into that tournament. But because if hypothetically speaking, if they were to get into the tournament, that offense is going to hit more than one wall once they start to see the best of the best pitching of the entire league, and that's just how it works. The chances of them keeping this kind of output, through October, and this goes for any high-powered offensive team, it's just not going to happen. It's gonna get sparsed into bursty moments of offense, and because the Giants they have historically 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, 5-4, that kind of stuff. 23-5, that's a football score.
Absolutely.
That means the other team got a field goal and a safety, and then the other team just dominated them.
Got
the other
3
way.
touchdowns and maybe a 2-point conversion somewhere.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I've been saying this all year, and I'm imploring all Goldcast Nation. Watch the Giants. They're really fun. They're really fun. And I know it's a lot funner when they're middle of a dynasty, and everyone's a big Giants fan when they're middle of a dynasty, but this is a really fun team. This is not your daddy's Giants. This isn't your granddaddy's Giants. But what Farhan is putting together right now, Raymond, he is putting together something that to me is very Kyle Shanahan-esque. This is a 49ers-centric podcast. I know that's our number one team. That's a team people tune in for. That's a team people care about the most. That is the gem.
And we will get to them.
And we're going to get to them today, too. We always do. But watch these Giants. They are really fun. They end up losing the next day. It was only a 2-game series. We won 3 in a row. We'd won 7 in a row before that. We've gone on some little streaks. We're 1 game back from the final wild card spot, and we're 4 games back from the second place spot. So we're actually
they're in it.
They're
in the hunt.
We're in the hunt.
That's 1 game back. You're in the hunt. You're
Yeah.
legitimately in the hunt. So
Yeah.
if they can pull the pitching together to gel while the offense is red hot like it is right now, then they will dominate, and then you'll actually take a lead in that wild card spot. So surprisingly, we talked about this early in the season, because of the shortened season. If the Giants were to manage a streak in 162 games, they're 3rd place, 4th place. But in this shortened season, if they go on a burst like they did, 7 games here, 3 games there, and they minimize the losing, although the 6 games leading up to the 7 games wasn't nice. But if they can hover around 500 and try to get past that a bit, they're in it. They have a chance to get in it. They have a chance only because of the shortened season. With a regular length season, a 162 game season, this team is very much rebuilding.
Yes.
And to be honest, they weren't fun to watch when they came out the gate this year. Although they had scrappy moments, and we talked about that.
Yeah,
they had scrappy. But I mean, for me, this season hasn't been very fun. Just because it doesn't feel like a normal baseball season.
I mean, it doesn't.
Like I said, the funnest part for me is hearing the guys curse, because you know that happens in real time when you're at the stadium. So to hear it on live national television, there's nothing that the networks can do about it. I just think it's kind of comical.
James Harden yesterday famously screamed, "Yeah, motherfucker!" He said as he blocked the ball and defeated the OKC to knock him out of what was a really great Game 7. He literally went, "Yeah, motherfucker!" And like you could just see it, like, and he went, "Yeah," and they went, "Motherfucker!" And then like he apologized, but they kept showing it. We're like, he's clear, and they didn't see the volume, but he clearly was saying, like, it was so obvious. Like,
oh
it's like,
my God,
it was great. It was actually a really great. It was a really great James Harden moment. I really enjoyed it.
I know, and here's the thing, that not to go off too much on a tangent, the F word is so versatile. So here we have an expression. Here we've seen that in baseball, where I've seen a guy yell "fuck" hella loud because he popped the ball up and he knew he was going to get out and the inning was going to be over. But here we see in celebration. So we see two opposite sides of the spectrum: frustration and then enthusiasm. Gotta love the versatility of the F word.
Okay, let's just go on a tangent about this F word real quick. I've said this for years. The F word's the GOAT. It's the GOAT. The F word is the F word is the Joe Montana of curse words. That's what I'm going to say.
It is.
It's the Joe Montana of curse words. It's the greatest curse word ever invented.
Yes, and it actually lends itself, so people actually use the other curse words do have some versatility too, but remember that is all derived from the F word. The S word can be used in different. It has some other English. It has some versatility. The B word has a little bit of versatility. The A word is usually only negative.
Well, it could also be like you're like in reference sexually. That's
true. But then that's more literal. You're not using it's a different completely different context.
That's true. And here's what I just realized: the F word is so much the GOAT that it became the term we also use for intercourse.
Yes,
that's how versatile.
Once you make your way into the bedroom, you know you've covered all the whole gamut.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, this is a very sexual Goldcast, the most sexual episode we've ever had.
Yeah, follow my OnlyFans for more cursing sex tips.
It's $15 a month. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
It's no big deal. That's fine.
Yeah, it supports the show.
All proceeds go back to the Goldcast. All right, Raymond. Let's get to the Niners, but remind me, this is an off-topic conversation. Remind me, I want to talk to you about the Warriors at the end of the episode. This is not planned. This is something I thought about as we were doing this. So remind me at the very end of the episode, I want to ask you a question about the Warriors.
Okay.
And this NBA postseason.
Feels great, baby.
All right, here we go. Raymond, what is going on with our wide receivers? What is happening out there? They're just dropping like flies, man.
They are. We can't sign them fast enough is what we're seeing here. So Tavon Austin goes down today. Or I would say we get Richie James back, and then we lose Tavon Austin. And I was actually excited about Tavon Austin because he was easily our deep threat. You know, a better version
he's like our
of Marquise
Brandon
Goodwin.
Cooks.
Yeah. And so he's gone. So he joins the other knee crew, which is Jalen Hurd. I think J.J. Nelson's on that list. But, Richie James is back, so that's good. We have somebody who knows the offense, who participated last year, was involved in a lot of big games. So he'll be back. So thank God somebody's back. And we know Trent Taylor missed his second day of practice. They haven't disclosed what's bothering him. We know Nick Bosa has been dealing with an injury. He'll be back, just some muscle
And
tightness.
then who got the COVID? Didn't someone get COVID?
Fred Warner was on the
we talked about that
COVID
on
list.
Monday. Yeah.
He's on the COVID list, but they didn't
on the
say
list.
if he has COVID. They for some reason,
Well, they
the
don't
rule,
legally have to say it.
right. So the
Yeah.
rule is it's very discreet. The rule by design is discreet, so you're not going to get details on whether he had it. It can mean only one of two things: either he has it, or he was around somebody who had it, and they're just holding him back as a precaution. And there was a couple other guys. I think Richie James was on that list earlier this season for a similar reason. Again, no details. So Fred Warner will likely be back in a week, or I really see him returning next week, because when he got put on the list, versus when the season starts, I mean, he could make it back. I thought the protocol was 2 weeks, but they might be able to get squeezed back in. It depends. I mean, because they're testing him every day to make sure, hey, if you don't got it, you don't got it. Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, some people think they'll be back next week. I think maybe Brandon Ayuk has a better shot. Deebo Samuel, I kind of am thinking like week 2 for him at the earliest, and week 4 at the latest. And we know from, some medical experts that have weighed in on his particular broken bone, that there's a 50% chance that doesn't heal correctly too. So let's hope that he's on the right side of that history.
I am so nervous about this. I am terrified. I am like, please. I hope this heals correctly.
I would probably be more nervous, but the 49ers medical staff actually does a really good job. They're really thorough.
Our new team is bomb.
Yeah, this is a completely... Remember, these staffs used to be compartmentalized before, and they said, let's go ahead and break that mold and make everything seamless, so it's one, seamless department of training staff working with medical staff, and so there's no lapse in communication and understanding of what's happening with any one player, whether it's an injury or a minor injury. I mean, a lot of these injuries are minor.
And it seems obvious. It seems like that would be the obvious choice. Like, why weren't they already doing this? But for some reason, they weren't.
Yeah, I don't get that either. All I know is that, Trent Taylor missed a couple days of practice, and they've been pretty mum about it, so I don't know if that's good or bad. That you could make an argument for either one. You could say the fact that they're not saying anything, maybe that's a bad thing, because they've had so many other injuries. It's like, gosh, let's not tip off let's tip off our opponent with a week and a half left before game time. That we're short on wide receivers. I don't know. Not that would make a huge difference. I mean, they have tight ends that could come in and fill that role. I mean, George Kittle was joking about 4 tight end sets, but at this point, with all the wide receivers down, that's not too far of a reality. And Kyle Shanahan could more than capable of cooking up something with 4 tight ends. We know we're going to see a lot of 2 tight ends, but Ross Dwelly returned to practice today, so that's good news. He's competing against Charlie Warner. Dre Greenlaw was back today. He had a blue non-contact jersey, so that's good news. So it's not all bad. Mohamed Sanu was released by the New England Patriots today, so people have been weighing in on the possibility of the Niners signing him. John Lynch didn't. So I think, to me, according to the report, he was let go because his ankle's bad. And if he's bad, then why would you bring a bad ankle over here? I mean, there's bad juju over here. So if he comes here within a couple days, he's going to go right back on IR.
Well, he's going to tear his Achilles and his career's over.
Yeah, so I don't know. To me, that's kind of a lateral move. It's like you're getting somebody, but he's already knocking on the door of the room that all of these other wide receivers are in. So I don't know, but I mean, like it's I guess it can't hurt. You're getting them cheap, and he knows Kyle Shanahan from the 2016 run. So I mean, there's some, and they tried to go for him before losing out to the Pats, and then deciding to get Emmanuel Sanders, who turned out to be the better trade option, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't really do much. He didn't do much with New England, anyways. Did you hear about this too? Also, their oh my God, I can't believe I'm running a blank. The New Orleans Saints are going to work out Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah. So John Lynch said, we don't have any more cash, so we can't afford Jadeveon Clowney, who would come at a higher price tag because he's a proven player. He's a Pro Bowler, although he was battling injuries with Seattle.
All in.
Well, if they get him, I don't know what their salary cap situation is, but if they can afford him, that would be a huge bonus because they have some decent players there already on the line. It wouldn't be like Seattle where they had nobody and Clowney was really trying to come in as the big carry of that group. He would come in and be complemented by a couple other pieces there that do a good job, sacking the quarterback. So I think that would be a much better fit than what he was asked to do in Seattle, where he was asked to be the J.J. Watt in Seattle, and turns out that's not really his game. He thrives alongside someone who's of equal caliber or greater
in the Niners system. I hate to say it. He really probably
would because he'd be complemented by tons of pieces. I thought it would have been a really good signing too, but again, we just don't have the cash for it, unfortunately. So at least that's what John Lynch said, because they said, "Hey, what's up with Clowney? How come you don't bring him in?" He's like, "We're out of cash."
Yeah.
So, and John Lynch, I think if there was a possibility to get Clowney in there, he wouldn't have said that. He would have said something different to when they asked him about Mohamed Sanu, and he kind of hedged his bet that, something that they're probably thinking about and looking into. So it's going to come down to health for him, and he's going to get evaluated by medical staff if they do bring him in. But at the same time, he was transparent to basically rule out any possibility of Clowney coming in. So that's unfortunate. But, I mean, we already have some good depth there. They're saying that DJ Jones, Robert Saleh said DJ Jones is playing really good in that position, and that he's, DJ Jones was a first and second down nose tackle for us last season, which means he was there to really slow down the run and put offenses in positions where they would have to play third and long, which then we'd bring the pass rushing teams in there, D Ford, the Twin Towers, and Nick Bosa, to go in there and disrupt the passing because we would have the time to do it, especially if it's third and long. But now they're saying, according to Robert Saleh, that DJ Jones has added more pass rushing tech to his repertoire. So that gives him more versatility, more depth, that gives him longer staying power with this roster if he's got more versatility. And that just gives us another weapon to come after the quarterback. He's made sacks before. He had that amazing rapid fire sack on Russell Wilson, I think I'm not sure if it was game 1 or game 2. I think it was game 1.
I'm trying to remember when he got hurt.
I
think it was game 2.
Game 2 was week 17, so I think he was already gone by then, which is why I'm thinking that he had that amazing sack against Russell Wilson in game 1 because it was a critical sack.
I thought he was back.
It ended the series.
17.
The sack ended the series. It was one of the first series of the game. So, but now that he's added more of that to his toolbox, that's just better news for us. That means we're not gonna. That means we have other people to rely on. We have Street, we have Blair, those guys. That we have a rotation group to come into the fill in for the middle while what's his name? Why am I drawing a blank on our draft pick?
Javon Kinlaw.
While Javon Kinlaw works on polish and technique because he's going to be a project, unfortunately.
Okay, can I say something about Javon Kinlaw?
Sure.
Maybe I'm being a homer. What if they're lying? What if Javon Kinlaw is pretty good? I mean, has this come from the beat writers who are actually watching the practices, or is this only coming from the Niners camp? Now, I know the Niners don't really play subterfuge like that, but what if? Here's just my conspiracy. I'm like, what if Javon Kinlaw is actually doing really well, and the Niners are just pretending and saying that he isn't?
It'd be a great little in your face that would last like a week as soon as he comes out and just destroys. Because then it'd be like, oh, I guess this guy doesn't suck, is what the rest of the league would say. Because here's the thing. We also signed defensive lineman Cameron Malvo, is how you pronounce his name. 6'5", 265, originally drafted by the Miami Dolphins as an undrafted player in 2017. Doesn't have great stats. If he's undrafted, the stats aren't really there. But he then played for the Cardinals in 2018, and he then was a reserve future contract with the Washington football team last December, but then he was waived by the team in early August, and the Niners came in and swooped him up. So he's young, and he obviously he's got some dimensions that the 49ers like, clearly, and he's young, which means that he can be polished. Whether that works out or not, who knows? This guy, he's undrafted. So undrafted, they have a low percentage of really becoming something in the NFL, and there's a pretty high gap between undrafted and like first round, for example.
Sure.
But we'll see. Anything's possible. Matt Breida's an undrafted. I think.
Well, I was going to say,
Raheem
lots of
Mostert was
undrafted players do make
undrafted.
things happen.
Those two guys are undrafted. They did great for us. So we'll just have to see. I mean, to me, I'm just kind of banking on the offense because, like, all right, if the defense is not injured, because we know the only injuries on defense is just minor stuff. Like Nick Bosa will be back. Fred Warner is not injured. He'll be back. Kyle Juszczyk is dealing with stuff. He'll be back. But, I mean, on defense, I think the only thing that came out today was a hamstring injury by Jason Verrett, who really hasn't contributed much. He got injured and fell down and got put on IR last year, and we weren't necessarily, weren't skipping any beats without him. So clearly that's not a big concern of mine, because we know that it's probably going to be Emmanuel Mosley that takes over on that other corner spot, because we know Sherman's going to secure the other side. That's already
well, we hear
it's
pretty competitive though right now. That's what's coming out of.
We hear it's competitive,
Yeah,
but
it's real
Mosley's
competitive.
the one who has the edge. Witherspoon's competing there. Tim Harris is competing there.
But at
There's
least it's
another guy
competitive.
competing there. Yeah, I know we released some veteran cornerback today. That's how Jamar Taylor was released today. So clearly he wasn't really doing much. But I mean, he could come back, is what one reporter said.
Yeah, I saw that too.
So it depends, and I think that depends on health. So if one of the guys goes down, then expect to see Jamar Taylor. So that's where we're at right now. So defense is pretty much 98% healthy.
We're gonna need him
And
next week against Arizona.
The offense is healthy with the exception of wide receiver. Everyone else is healthy. It's just wide receiver. But I mean, remember, you still have Kendrick Bourne, you still have Dante Pettis, you still have Trent Taylor will probably come back. I'm going to lean on the optimistic side and say that it's insignificant if he sat out 2 practices and they haven't said anything. That means he's going to come back. If he wasn't going to come back, then they would report it because they have to report it. Who else is there? And then we have all of our tight ends: Kittle, Warner, like I said. Dwelly came back yesterday. I said today. He actually came back yesterday. Today's Thursday. So there's still a lot of pieces intact. All the running backs are healthy, including Jerick McKinnon, thank God. We'll get to see what he does, hopefully, what all of this hype was and all this big contract and the money that he initially got, although it's been reworked since then. But we'll at least get to see what all the hype was about.
We will. So, Ray, can you believe it? We're 1 week away now. Let me throw some things that are on the schedule for us. Next week, Goldcast Empire, we will be doing our season prediction show. This is one of our favorite shows of the year. Raymond and I sit down, and we don't tell each other. We make our own picks, and we decide where the Niners will land, and then we go game by game, and we go over what we think the final predictions will be. And the big question this year, of course, Goldcast Empire, will we have our revenge season? And I'm going to say this. There's going to be 4 teams left at the end, and these are the 4 teams. It's going to be the 49ers and the Saints, and it's going to be the Ravens and the Chiefs. And I think those 4 teams are going to determine who is going to the Super Bowl, and they are going to determine who's going to raise that Lombardi trophy. You heard it here first. But I
agree.
You agree, right? They're going all in.
I think injuries is really the only thing that can stop the Niners, because they just seem so focused, and such a heartbreaking loss. I know it stings for them, and they're all sold and bought into the philosophy and the journey to go back and claim what they felt was rightfully theirs, which as fans, we obviously feel that we should have won that game, especially when you pretty much controlled,
we played 53 minutes of football.
3.5, 3 3/4 football before losing out to the last quarter of the last quarter.
Yeah, I said 53 minutes. We played 53 minutes, and had we played 60, we'd have our 6th title, and we'd be right back at the big boy table.
Exactly. So that's got to hurt. It's like the Kansas City Royals when they lost to the Giants in Game 7 at the very end with the bases loaded. That's you lose by that much. It's not like you got your ass kicked and it's like, okay, we need to really clean some things up. It's like, no, you just lost by that much, and then they went back and were able to. Or
when the Spurs lost to the Heat,
and when the Spurs lost to the Heat, they felt that they were the better team. I felt the Niners were the better team. They were the more complete team, but the Chiefs just made a few plays at the very end to secure a lead and to hold that lead, and it was unfortunate. But that's why I think they're going to do it. And by the way, that guy behind me, that's That is Cameron Malveaux, for those of you that were maybe a little confused. So I remember I said he played for the Cardinals. So
I was wondering, I was like, who is that? I was like, it looks like a Cardinal.
That's the new defensive lineman we signed. So he's going to come in there. He's young. I think he still needs some polish to be just another guy to add into the mix, and he's young. So if he works out, you've got a cheap player that you can build into down the road, because next year is going to be difficult in terms of cap space. We're going to have to definitely let some people go to make room.
Okay, Raymond. So last topic of the evening. Now, typically what will happen, because San Francisco, we're very spoiled. We've been in 10 championships for 10 straight years. We've had 3 World Series, 5 NBA Finals, 2 Super Bowls to button the last decade. It's been quite a run, and I don't think we're done. I actually I really truly believe we could pull off another Super Bowl, another World Series, and another NBA Final. We can get 3 more.
Right. We're 6-4 in that stretch.
That stretch, and I think we can get 3 more on the docket in this next decade, and really kind of sit up there with like the Bostons of the world. So, typically when we lose a championship, Raymond, to somebody, I hate that team for the rest of the following year. And so this year I hate the Chiefs. I don't like them at all. I'm gonna screw the Chiefs. There are brothers.
I like individual players, because we've done our fantasy draft. By the way, sound off if you've done your fantasy draft. If you're playing fantasy this year, I want to hear about it.
Yep, exactly.
But yeah, that's the only love I give to the Chiefs, is because I have a few of them on fantasy.
So check this out. Here's the conundrum that I'm in. It's kind of funny. I don't like the Raptors this year. I'm like, screw the Raptors. You weren't the better team. You were just a healthier team. We said that on our NBA Finals podcast.
That's really all it came down to. Otherwise, it would have been a dominating win.
Dominating. We're probably Warriors in 5, maybe 6. I mean, they could barely handle us with our players half dead on the court. They could barely handle us. Or whatever. Yeah. Every time I hear Kawhi as the dynasty killer, I'm like, no. The injury bug was the dynasty killer. He was not the dynasty killer. Had a great post-season run. Awesome. Congratulations. You get all the cookies.
Make no mistake. It was health that really did us in.
Absolutely. So I've been kind of anti-Raptors all season. But then going into the post, I was like, I'm kind of like, I really just don't want LeBron and the Lakers to win.
I don't.
Honestly, I want the Lakers to win for Kobe.
I thought they were going to forfeit. I thought they were going to opt out, because there was that shooting, Jacob Blake shooting, and then them and the Clippers were going to opt out. I was like, that's a win-win. Not only do you support, a right movement, but then I get to also see the Lakers not win a championship. I get two birds with one stone.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you know, I also historically am not a big fan of Boston teams at all. But this series has Boston and Toronto in it, and Boston went up 2-0, and I was like, I kind of want to see Boston beat Toronto. Because I will say this.
I'm okay with the Celtics beating. The Celtics haven't done anything, and I like their coach, and I like some of their players, but they haven't done anything to thwart the Warriors' efforts this whole run. So I'm okay with them, especially the Raptors. Fuck the Raptors.
Okay, see, that's great. Okay, I'm glad you said that. This makes me feel better, because they beat the Raptors won in a buzzer beater. They were literally 0.5.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw the play.
It was a great play. Great monster play. Saved their season. You go down 3-0, you could kiss this series goodbye. It is done. But I have to admit, I'm actually pausing my Boston bias, and I'm going to be rooting for the Celtics, because I said this to a Raptors fan last year. I said, who was kind of, messing with me, kind of, ribbing me. I said, listen, man, you guys weren't the better team. You were the healthier team. And all due respect, unless you win another one next year, all this is going to be is a 5-minute blurb at the end of the 10-part Warriors documentary in 10 years. That's all this is. So enjoy your 15 minutes. But unless you win another one now, that's all this is going to be. It's going to be a 5-minute blip at the end of the 10-part Warriors documentary. That's all it's going to be.
And they're doing, when they were, even before they had Kawhi, they couldn't get past LeBron, and they would get to the finals, and then they would just get smoked. And here they are barely hanging on without Kawhi again. So, I mean, they're good enough to get to the playoffs and to compete in the playoffs, but not to get to another finals, at least not in my estimation.
Hey, if Kawhi Leonard misses that insane pass Philly goes on. You know what I mean? And their season's over. I mean, that final bounce shot, I mean, that's a 50-50. I mean, it was, it literally bounced.
Talk about
bounced.
lucky bounce.
I mean,
yeah,
that ball
really
bounces
good
out.
Fortune.
Philly's going. Philly moves on and the Raptors don't. So either way, that's okay. Okay, good. So now I feel okay about rooting for the Celtics.
Yes, we can root for Boston in this case. Again, Boston hasn't done anything to us.
That's true.
I think their coach is young. He's good. He's smart.
He's really good.
He does really good things with players that I've never heard of. And if you give them all-stars, look out.
I like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. They're dope.
They can't seem to keep the good all-stars when they're there, or they just don't stay healthy. If for example, Gordon Hayward, snaps his ankle in half. Poor guy. I felt bad for him because
he hurt himself again. Hurt himself again in the postseason.
Yeah, I know, and I feel bad for him because he's a good player. He's a really good player, and he just seems like a normal, humble guy. He's not a flashy dude, and I kind of like the Klay Thompsons of the world. But it is what it is. So we'll just have to see if they're able to get past the Raptors. I think they will. I think this loss is going to piss them off. They're going to come back and get a 3-1 lead.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, good. All right, that was all I had to say. Last thing on the agenda, Raymond, and you don't know about this yet, but somebody, maybe a special guest of this show, who everyone's heard many seasons, but no one's ever seen, and we'll see for the first time next week on our YouTube channel, Lewie B, has written a Rams article that's posted online.
Really?
About why...
He's now a contributor?
Yeah, he's a contributor. About why you shouldn't be worried about the Rams this season. We're going to read this article. He is coming onto the show, and we are going to have a conversation about his Rams.
I miss Lewie B. I miss him having him on the show.
Yep.
I like having our NFC West rival friends on the show talking some football because I want to get his take because we're obviously going to go through the preview of the season. And I know he's going to have his opinion about what those two games are going to look like this year, and we're going to have ours. Absolutely.
So Lewie B has written an article defending the Rams, and he is coming on to the show next week. We're going to have it. We're going to have it in the, you know what we'll do? I'll put the link in this episode so that our fans, all the Goldcast Empire, y'all could read the Lewie B article. You can read the article, and then he's going to come on the show, and he's going to defend that article, and we're going to denounce it. It's going to be fun. Yeah. All right. And so concludes another edition of the Goldcast. We are the voice of the Bay. I'm your host, Rudy Solis III, and with me is my brother, my co-host,
Raymond Solis I, baby.
Boom. We'll see you next time. Same Goldcast time, same Goldcast channel. Matching hats.